NIHSS is the National Institute for the Humanities and Social Sciences. We are a national institute which is funded by the Department of Higher Education and Training, and our focus is on advancing and promoting the humanities and social sciences. So the project, this one is quite a special project, the project of these things that sit with us, precisely because it in fact has a life period since 2014, which was the time when this institute, as you are here and you're seeing how beautiful the space is, did not exist. So in the formulation and the establishment of the institute, there were projects which were called special ministerial projects, and Professor Pumla Gobodo-Madikizela was one of the researchers, esteemed researchers, who was part of the ministerial project and working on issues of memories, working on issues of, how we work through the past. And I know that from that project, a book publication came out. It was supported by us, consequently, when we became established. And that book has received quite excellent reviews, and I think is, a very important scholarly intervention in the country around work on memory and intergenerational violence. I am aware that this project, these things that sit with us, the book project, continues with that narrative. So as the Institute, I think this is one of our really proud moments where we've seen the development of an idea and seen it go into interesting directions. And I think it bears testimony of how important it is to also nurture ideas around the humanities and social sciences, and to provide the infrastructure, provide the intellectual spaces for people to engage about such important issues.
We're here to talk about the book. These are the things that sit with us, and I think the point of the discussion is to basically think about the kind of history that we have in the country and the difficulties that we continue to have with that history, in as far as the kind of society that we're trying to create. I think there were dialogues and engagements, disagreements about what we make of the past and what we make of the book, but it's certainly important discussions, it seems to me, that we should be having, because the question of what kind of society we are and what kind of society we want to build is a discussion or conversation that is under deep contestation, and one way of trying to respond to that or deal with what we are facing in the present is to actually engage in conversation.
But particularly concerning this conference, what struck me is, right from even the title of the book that forms that the things that sit with us. There's something that resonates about the title itself. The fact that things that sit with us implies permanency. It's not transient. It's not something that you can go past or beyond or walk away from. You sit with it. But particularly concerning this conference, what struck me is, right from even the title of the book that forms that the things that sit with us. There's something that resonates about the title itself. The fact that things that sit with us implies permanency. It's not transient. It's not something that you can go past or beyond or walk away from. You sit with it.
That's exactly what the book should be doing, like to provoke conversations that are difficult, conversations that people really do not want to have or people would not have on a normal day. So yeah, it's very timely, and if there is one point that the book makes, it is that the past is still very present with us. Yeah.
Well, I mean, the title is actually a translation of an Afrikaans expression, die dinge wat aan ons kleef. So it's just like they cling to us. And so it's this kind of very evocative metaphor of just how deeply ingrained, the trauma and the pain of the past is. And so for me, as somebody coming from a white Afrikaner background, but also from the Verwoerd family, it is another reminder just of how deep the wounding of apartheid has gone, and how people from my background and my community background really have to do a lot of work to sit with the discomfort of what other people are still sitting with, and then to find creative ways to respond with a sharing of responsibility to address those issues. And for me, that is a big part of the work that I do at the Centre, is to try and talk about the issues around shared responsibility and restitution and reparation, the big issues that I think are still missing in the South African transition.
So I think for me, this is a very important conversation. These are the things that sit with us. And because indeed they sit with us, and they've been sitting with us ever since history can remember. So I think it's one of those important conversations. I mean, that's the location of the book, the fact that it is located within a community, it is community grounded, and what then that does is kind of like to give a voice to the community, to the people on whose everyday lived experiences we always theorize in the academy. But what is important to me is to finally acknowledge those people as the local historians, the authors of their own histories. Because what we tend to do, normally we tend to go extract their stories and then we come and narrate them in the academy. But when we finally give them a voice, but what is important is to say, how do we move on from this? What is the way forward after giving them this voice? How do we make sure that we continue the engagement, that it's not just a once-off, a wow book that's documenting people's stories, right? What are the conversations moving forward? Because one thing with reliving memory, it has to do with trauma or re-traumatization, right, of the person who's telling the story. For some, like in my own work, I also do memories of apartheid. So what that does, I've heard many people saying they haven't retold this story of their experience to anyone. So I'm probably the first person that they're talking to. And then some of them, they've said that is sort of like therapeutic, because you've spoken out, you've spoken to someone. But maybe the question that I have with the organizers, with the editors of the book, is to say, where are we going from here? How do we make sure that we did not just launch the book around the country, in the communities and everything? How do you continue? How do we proceed with the conversation from here?